I'm here. So I have a house full of cats. There's 30 in here. They don't always get along. I'm pretty fortunate I haven't had very many really bad fights, but I've had some bad fights. So, what causes these fights? What do you do about it? What about if you have a cat or two cats that used to love each other and now they can't stand each other? What are we going to do about it? Well, in today's episode in Cat Chat with Penny, I'm Penny. We're going to talk about why cats might fight with each other, why that might change, and also um, what you can do about it. So, my name is Penny. I am the executive director of Mew Mew House, which is a retirement home and hospice for cats. We have a lot of cats here. There's no cats in this space because this is my private domain. Every so often they get in here, wreak havoc. But no, this is my space. I live and work in Western New York near Rochester. So where are you? I'd like to know where you're watching from, how you're doing. Use hashtag live if you're watching this live or hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay. I don't always see the comments, so leave your comments and I will try to address them. Sometimes I can't see who's posting. Occasionally I do get some notifications here about people posting, but I don't always, so I'll have to check later. But here's the deal. Cats. Cats are wonderful creatures, but they also fight. And when you think about it, in the wild, cats also fight, and there's good reasons for that. So, here we have our house cats, though, and we're providing a nice place for them to be. They're nice and comfortable, they're warm, but suddenly they're fighting. And I mean, it's laughable in my case because I have cats that don't like each other, but they all want to be close to me. So I'll be laying in bed and I'll have one angry cat here and one angry cat here. They're happy, they're purring, they're all cuddly, and then one will look up and see the other one. And my poor face is right in the middle of this cat fight. That's not so much fun. Thankfully, I've learned that I can make a big noise and they all dash for the hills, but what else can you do about that? Well, first let's think about why they might be fighting. I'm just going to outline some of the reasons why cats may be fighting. And you can think about these things in terms of what might be going on in your own house. For one thing, cats are territorial. They do have spaces. And I laugh about it here at Mew Mew House because there's several different rooms. And the cats can go between rooms. But there are definitely colonies, or clowder is the word for cats. But there are certain cats that occupy certain spaces, and some cats just go in between them all. But other cats, their room is this room, and that's, this room or that room. And the other cats will go in there and they'll be like, no, 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 you don't belong here. For example, there's two places where Zelda may be, either on my bed or downstairs looking for food. And most of the time she's on my bed. And if I do feed in the bedroom, so she just screams at me until I put food down there. But if she's hungry enough, she'll come downstairs, investigate, and then she'll go back upstairs and wait for me. So territories, they do have their spaces. And some of these cats, for example, another example, I have a cat, Zeus, who is probably he's one of the more aggressive cats, and he's most likely to get into a fight with another one of the cats in the house. He never comes into my bedroom. Never does. That's not his space. He very rarely even goes upstairs. The rest of the house, sure. But if there's any room in the house that's his, it's the living room. He hangs out with the dogs. All right. Another things, because we have that in plural, another thing cats may be doing is guarding their resources. We see this in dogs and we don't think about it so much in cats, but it's true. I mean, I watch it when it's feeding time, when It's hilarious when the cat's doing the growl chew, "Meow, meow, meow, meow." Yeah, it's funny. But, they are protecting their resources. One of my dogs is really bad about resource guarding, and if you're not careful, you'll get bit. If you don't reach toward the food dish when he's eating, you just don't. Okay. Cats can be exactly the same way. So if there's a food dish and one cat's eating out of it, the other cat comes up and says, "Hey, yo, I'm hungry." There might be a fight. So and their important resources are food and water. Sometimes cats are just fighting because they don't know how to deal with other cats. Now, if you've already had the cats for a while and suddenly they're not getting along, well, that's probably not the case. But if you're introducing a cat to a household that has never been around other cats, was poorly socialized as a kitten, maybe was taken away from its mother too early, it's going to see these other cats and it's going to be like, "What in the heck is wrong with you?" And there may be fights then. They just don't know. These things are hard to deal with, but it's important to observe. One of my cats, who's actually more likely to be aggressive towards humans than other cats, um, wasn't properly socialized with people. And so he bites me from time to time. One of the things that causes fights between cats a lot is actually big changes in the house. And you'd be surprised. It's a big change to them, but maybe not so much to you. But if you're under stress, cats are going to know. I mean, just because they don't wear their heart on their sleeve doesn't mean that they don't get upset. All right. And they know it and they start taking it out on each other. Stress breeds stress, and it happens. So, if you change routines or whatever, they're going to notice it. And I actually, when I have to adjust routines because work schedules or whatever, cats don't like it. They get pretty upset. And the last thing that's really important to think about is there could be medical issues. I mean, cats do suffer from things like dementia, um, or if they're losing their eyesight or hearing, they might just lash out. So it's important to consider there might be some sort of medical issue going on. I've definitely noticed that Peanut, she's struggling now. She's in hospice care at the moment. Sometimes she gets a little snappy. She does not. And she never really liked the other cats, being around the other cats, but now she's like, she gets mad at the other cats when they just happen to be nearby because she's not feeling great. So, solutions. What can you do? For me, the only reason why I don't have a lot of big problems is because this house is big. It really helps that this house is big. So even the smallest rooms are pretty large, and so they can get away from each other if they want to. And that's important. Um they need to have the ability to get away from each other and be safe. Have a secure place to go. Now, if you're in a smaller apartment space or if you're trying to keep a couple of cats in your bedroom, which happens, then what can you do? You need space. Where can you go? Well, if you need more space but you don't have it in area, go up. Cats like high places. I mean, first of all, they love to look down on you because they really enjoy just looking down upon you because that's what cats do. Um, but also, they climb. They are natural climbers. I mean, I find that the ones that get outside are often way high in the tree, and I'm like, what are you doing up there? Um, so give them the space to go up. And one of these cat trees that has a little cave and hidey holes, if you have the money, by all means invest in cat shelves and things so the cats can actually move across your whole space without putting their paws on the ground. That's my fantasy for this space, is to have paths for the cats to take where they don't actually have to put their feet on the ground. They will love that. All right. So that's one solution. Another solution, I put separate because this reminds me of when I was a young child and I have a sibling and we would get in fights. and you'd hear this cry from some distance part of the house, separate, which meant my brother and I needed to remove ourselves from one another. Um, but this is different. Uh, yeah, you can put in physical separations. As cats are clever, they tend to ignore things like gates. Um, Doors don't even work; they'll drive you batty. But if there's any sort of resource guarding going on, you need to provide them separate resources. So, and this makes sense even if your cats like each other. So, if you have two cats, you should have two feeding stations. They should have two bowls, and they don't have to be right next to each other. And if you're lucky, your cats get along. But if you're not, you need separate spaces. Likewise with water, you need to have more than one place for a cat to get a drink of water. If you have two cats, you need two water dishes, and it is advisable to keep the water dish separated from the food dish. Make sure there's plenty of litter boxes. If you have two cats, you should have three litter boxes. Sometimes they don't like to share. Sometimes they really just don't want to use the same litter box that somebody else has been using. So they want a separate space to take care of those needs. So if you can do it, great. I have a bench in my bedroom that I put a feeding station under there. There's tables. Some of the cats want to eat on a table. Some of the cats want to eat in the kitchen. Some of the cats want to eat, in the other room. So there's feeding stations in this house. There's feeding stations for the cats in every room except for in the dog room because, yeah, if I put out food for the cats in the dog room, the dogs would eat it. That would end poorly. It is hilarious though to see the little tiny, the 7-pound cat beat up the 50-pound dog for the dog's kibble, which by the way is topic for another day. But you shouldn't let there's no harm in your cat eating a couple bits of kibble of your dog's, but they're not going to do well if that's their entire diet is dog food. But that's another matter. Another thing you can do is there's all these pheromone sprays. There's Feel Away. If you watch Jackson Galaxy, he has all manner of suggestions for ways you can, pheromones and various things that you can use to help your cats. Now, this is important. You know, don't don't use essential oils that are marketed for people. All right. There are some essential oils and things that are marketed for cats and dogs. Um, those might be okay, but the essential oils that you might use for yourself may be very toxic to cats. So I would be super careful and only buy products from reputable sources like Jackson Galaxy, um, to be sure that you're not, accidentally buying something that's toxic to your animals. Okay, this is important. Um, and if something, some of the oils and things we might use to calm our own nerves could be extremely toxic to our animals. Um, so keep that in mind. But the pheromone sprays and the Feel Away and all that stuff can really help. They also have the pheromone collars and whatnot. It depends. I did try pheromone collar on Zeus, and I think it pissed him off. He just made him angry. So just like with people, sometimes things backfire. So you just got to pay attention. This is the gimme. You should play with your cats. I do. One of the things I've discovered is, you know, it's hard to play with all of your cats when you've got 30 in the house. But one thing I do at least once a day is I have treaty time, and I pull out the treats and I offer treats to the cats, and they some of them do some tricks and stuff, but it kind of forces them to be in a space where they're all being rewarded for being kind to each other. So that's something else to think about. Now sometimes they get really upset and I do have to be careful. Some of them also get like really excited, and then fighting and aggression can appear then. But for the most part, I find that offering treats from time to time, playing with them and giving them toys and attention, the way they want the attention, seems to work pretty well. And if all else fails, sometimes as I mentioned before, medical issues can cause aggression. So you can see your vet. They also have they have CBD oil for cats that you don't have to get. That might be up there in the pheromone section, which might help. But they also have other kinds of medications that can be offered to cats. They have anti-anxiety meds. Yes, cats take Prozac if they're under stress and you're under stress. I mean, think about it. When you're anxious, everything's going to set you off. So, that it may need some medical intervention. So pay attention to that. But I think that the most useful thing here for people working in, you have a small space and you really need something, I'm going to suggest that you invest in cat trees. Go up. If you can't go out, go up. Give them lots of space and make sure that you're providing multiple feeding, watering, and toileting stations for your cats. At least one per cat, just so that they don't have to interact if they don't want to. And then, you know, try the next step would be, try to play with them some more and then add the pheromones if that doesn't work. And sometimes you just have to literally keep them separated. And, and when my cats do get into big fights, because they do happen, very important. If your cats do get into a big fight, don't reach down and pick them up. This is going to end badly. You're going to get sliced up. I mean, it happens. I actually have a broom. I will grab a broom and I don't hit the cats. Don't hit your cats when they're fighting. But I put the broom between the cats. And if I don't have the broom, then sometimes I will stand between the cats. And they can chew on my legs if they want to. Don't let them bite your hands. Oh, please. Please don't let them bite your hands. But sometimes that's what you have to do is get between them. Use gloves, whatever you got to do to separate them physically and let them calm down. Because sometimes it just happens. My dogs sometimes fight too. They're siblings, right? They get into fights. Hopefully, what I've told you today is helpful. If it's not helpful, then, you can reach out and I will look for more sources of information because it's really hard. There are cat behaviorists out there who can help you with really tricky situations. You can sit down and watch all the, Jackson Galaxy's series, My Cat from Hell, and see what he's done. Because there are a lot of instances where he's dealing with situations where cats are fighting with each other. And it's just because it's a control thing, right? It's a territory thing. And, that's always a good idea. But if you like what you've seen today, please like and share. And if you want to support my mission to provide a forever home and hospice for cats at Mew Mew House, please feel free to go over to mewmewhouse.org and see the animals. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you next week. Bye now.